Well, for me, Mendable is a safe space, whether it be, in an app, in a community, wherever it is, for people to really share themselves and be accepted for being themselves.
I have gratitude in the fact that I made it through.
So, all of anxiety, every form of anxiety, is a sense of losing control or loss of control.
But if you can throw out that energy of positivity and kindness and smile, it changes the world.
Welcome to the Mendable podcast, where usually David Jakes is interviewing us, but today I'll be interviewing Mr. David Jakes. So, hello, Mr. David Jakes. How are you doing there, brother?
Hey, Corey, I'm doing fine. And this seems a little bit different. I feel like I should have my list of questions to ask you, but I've already done that. So you just fire away and ask me anything you like. I'm an open book here.
All right, absolutely. Yep, you can leave your list of questions at home, and I'll go ahead and start with mine. First and foremost, I just want to, say thank you for all the hard work that you've been doing and all the Mendable interviews that we've done so far. They've been some very, very profound videos and interesting videos that taught me a lot more about not just yourself and your professionalism and your expertise in interviewing, but also about the people that you were interviewing. So just thank you so much for that line of work that you've been putting in. And wanted to pretty much say to you, how are you feeling today? Starting off with that, how are you feeling just overall, mentally, spiritually, just in your world today?
Today, I am feeling really good. Everything is going just fine. It's Saturday here. It's Saturday afternoon. I'm in London, England. It's a sunny afternoon. It's April 5th, so it's the beginning of springtime, and we've had some nice spring weather. One thing that just makes life here really great for me is my whole family are living here right now. So myself and my wife moved over to the UK 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago. And my daughter lives here, and she herself works in mental health services. And my son is in his final year at university, and he managed to get a year abroad studying over here. So typically we get together every weekend. I think we're going to get together tomorrow, have a family day. So I've got my family here. I've got my dog. I've got my cat. Life is doing pretty well for me.
I like to start off this interview by asking a particular question, just your professional background. And then I'll go into kind of your history just growing up. But your professional background, very interesting, man. Just tell us a little bit about your professional background.
You sure this isn't a job interview? If you're looking to hire me, I can interview pretty well for the job. But
you already hired.
I'll cut it really short because it's a pretty long story now, because I've had more birthdays than I care to remember. So I've done quite a lot of things. So I started out in banking here in the UK, not because I had a high desire to be a banker, but I found a good job and it paid well, and went in a very entry-level position, my first job with Barclays Bank, which anybody in the UK will know well. Specialized in treasury management, so currency and interest rate risk management. I was able to use my background in economics and found that very mentally stimulating, intellectually stimulating, and the job I kind of fell into was helping the bank's clients to manage their currency and interest rate exposure. So with that, I did that for a few years here in London. The bank offered me a 2-year assignment to New York to go and basically do the same job. So that took me to the US. And 2 years turned into 5 years. Right around year 4, I met my wife, Diane, who is a native Californian. And long story short, I ended up leaving the bank a couple of years after that and had the opportunity to spend a year in Amsterdam, where she was working at that point. And then we moved back to California, where she was from. And I stumbled into a job with Silicon Valley Bank, which has been in the news for some less than good reasons. It's still a good organization. It's doing much better, but they did have some issues 2 years ago. And I was there for 5 years. And so that's the point I kind of thought to myself, this banking world is all very good and it pays well, there's good opportunities and everything. But I was working right in the heart of Silicon Valley, and I really wanted to get my hands dirty with a startup. And so I started looking at startups. This is the late 1990s, so it's the time when the dot-com bubble is yet to burst. It's really building a huge amount of development, investment, and development in the internet and the technology in Silicon Valley. And so I, staying within the finance world, decided I was ready for my next promotion, which would be to a chief financial officer role. And I found myself this little startup that nobody had ever heard of called PayPal. And I went in there, and we were like a dozen guys in a tiny one-room office above a Hallmark greeting card store in Palo Alto, California. And that's when PayPal got launched. It was October of 1999. And I was there at the start when the product got launched. I stayed there a couple of years, had a huge roller coaster ride with that company. And depending on what the day that you talked to me, it was either the best job in the world, the worst job in the world, the most stimulating, the most exciting, the scariest job. It really was a professional and emotional roller coaster working there. I decided to move on right around the time that my daughter was born. Took a little bit of time off and ended up getting hired by a venture capital firm that was the venture arm of Nokia. Back in the days when they truly were the leader in mobile phone technology, and most people in the world had a Nokia phone. Long before the smartphone, the iPhone, and the devices we use today. So I did that for a few years, and then went into more of a consulting role and was then the outsourced CFO for startup companies, venture capital firms. So I've continued that line of work. But one of the things that became much more important to me, and we can talk about that in more detail, is the world of mental health advocacy. And that kind of came along organically and naturally. But from the professional career standpoint, it's very much the world of finance, banking, startups, and venture capital investment with kind of a Silicon Valley flavor to it. So that's it in a nutshell.
Wow. From everything that I heard of Silicon Valley, I would think I would probably like to get a taste of what the Silicon Valley flavor is myself, especially when it comes to the finances. But I just like to congratulate you for that. That sounds very interesting. And that leads right into the mental health aspects. So during these times when you were working here at this job and you're having all of these different emotions going on because of obviously what's going on with the growth of the company, how did you manage to just stay sane and actually stay there when it was some days the best job in the world and some days the worst job in the world? So what was it that helped you to deal with that mentally and emotionally?
Well, it wasn't a depth of experience on my side because, if anything, I was in huge denial. And one of the things I'll say, which was very fortunate, was I was in a period of stability because my journey with mental illness started when I was very young. I was about 11 years old when I had my first mental health issue, missed a whole year of school, had to then go to another school, special education school, and do a lot of catch-up work. So the early part of my life was very tumultuous, and I managed to get myself back on track. But I never talked about it. And in fact, if anything, the one thing that I would always do when it came to my professional world was make sure that I was keeping that in a very separate compartment to my mental health issues. And because I wasn't honest with myself, I didn't know that I had as many issues as I did. And like I said, it was very fortunate I found myself in the period of stability, especially when I was doing the banking in New York, and then working for the startup in Silicon Valley, where everything was very fast-paced. I was very driven by the opportunity, the learning experience, the newness of it, and knowing that all of us were in it together. It was something very new. So I felt a good sense of security in that. And it wasn't really until a few years later, right around the time that my son was born in 2003, and not for that reason at all, nothing to do with my family, but I did find myself reaching a mental low point, and that major depressive side of me really came back. And whether it was situational from the work that I had been doing that brought it back, or clinical, I don't know. But I did go through a really bad spell in a very dark place in the latter half of 2003, and that's when I sought help. And if anything, I really had to kind of retreat back a little bit. Maybe I just ran out of the energy to be able to rise above it. It's hard for me to say, but I've really got brought down to a sense of reality and needed to then start taking care of myself in a different way than I really ever had done before.
Sounds like that was a challenging part of your life. And, I would just like to add to your closing statement that I'm glad that you were able to make it through. I'm glad that through all that you've been through mentally and all of your struggles at whatever point in life, we were able to make it here to this point, to where we've now found, something in common, which is Mendable, a safe space for us to be able to talk and share with each other and pour into each other, and have people that's on a journey to take better care of themselves as well. So that leads me to ask you, so how did you actually find out about Mendable, and how has Mendable impacted your life?
To answer second question first, Mendable has impacted my life a lot in a very positive way. How I found out about it was quite by accident. It was during the COVID times. It was summer of 2021. And I was actually running a podcast channel for another company I was working for. And I'd interviewed a young lady, her name is Joanna Monfort-Torres, and she is an incredible woman who's so well traveled throughout the world. And I interviewed her. When we finished doing the interview, she said to me, "Are you on Clubhouse?" And I said, "Well, I've heard about this thing. I don't really know what it is." And it was by invitation only at that point. And so she invited me, and I kind of went on, and I dropped into a couple of rooms and dropped into another couple of rooms and was very unimpressed. So I was almost ready to ditch the whole thing. But I started getting the alerts on my phone, and one day I saw this men's mental health testimony time. And I was living in California. It was about noon local time. And I thought, oh, what's this? This sounds really interesting. So I went on. I had never spoken in a room before. I'd only ever been in to listen, but I knew that you could raise your hand to speak if you wanted to. And I was listening to this room moderated by Sophia May and Patrick Hill, who were doing it at the time. And I decided to raise my hand and tell my story. So I did just a brief overview of my story with my mental health journey. And Sophia reached out to me right after that particular room that day and asked if I could connect with her and Patrick. And a little bit of a cliche, but the rest is history. And have been participating on and off ever since. So there's been periods of time when I haven't gone in very often, very frequently. But now I'm pretty much back fairly regularly. And what I realized is that it's not just about having the place to be able to share the challenges, share the stories, share the things that are going on with us and where we need help. It's also a place to share our successes and our joy and the good things that are going on in our lives. And also to get the support of others. And what I realized very early on, it's not just having that place to be able to share what is going on with you. I personally get as much enjoyment out of supporting other people and hearing the support of other people. So it's been a wonderful place, a wonderful space to be able to do that. And I've also become involved in the business side with Sophia. And I'm just very excited at all the things that Mendable has to offer, which is way beyond just a 2-hour room twice a week where we can get together and talk. That's the community side of it. There's so much more that's going to be happening. So that's what I'm really excited about, as well as having the safe space for us to be able to share. So long-winded answer, but it's had a very positive impact on me for sure.
Thank you for that. And when you were talking about Mendable, all I could remember and think about is that cup, man. Where's that You Rock cup? Because that's what really made me gravitate towards your profile. And I got something from it. I guess if that was the message you were putting out there, just to make people feel good when they see that, it definitely resonated with me. And I used to always look for that cup in that profile whenever I was in Mendable. So where's the cup at, man? Do you have the cup with you? Or you don't have it right now?
It's somewhere. I don't have it right with me. I've got my glass of water right with me right here. But yeah, it's somewhere. But yeah, that cup was a gift from somebody, a business friend that I'd done a favor for and helped out. And she gave me that cup. And, because the message to me was, you rock, because I helped her out. But I think, holding it up and saying to everybody else, you rock, because you do. Absolutely. Whoever you are.
Absolutely, man. Great. So I like to ask now just a little bit. You talk about your experience and the time that you spent over here. Also aware that you have a son that's in the US as well, and you're very well traveled yourself. I wanted to ask you, just in your travels, give me one of the best places. Like, what is one of your favorite places to travel, and why is that your favorite place? Like, out of all the places you travel, being a well-traveled person, where's your favorite spot? Because I may want to go visit myself to kind of, enjoy whatever it may be. So,
can I have more than one?
I was going to ask more than one, but I didn't want to overdo it. You can give me your top 3 if you'd like to.
I think it really depends on, and I would have given a different answer to this depending upon when you were asking me the question. When I was living in the US, a favorite place for me to visit was to come back to London, because I felt it was my roots. I've got a lot of memories here. Now I'm living here, back here again. A couple of places that I have been to that I always want to go to. One is Whistler Mountain in British Columbia, Canada. That is my favorite place in the world to ski because I love to ski. I've skied a lot in California, I've skied a lot in North America, I've skied in Europe. But if I have one place in the world that is the best place to ski, that is Whistler in British Columbia, Canada. Another place which is a huge favorite of mine, which is a city that I'll go to again in a heartbeat, is Sydney, Australia. Just an incredible city, very similar in terms of its vibe and its structure and its architecture as San Francisco. You know, there's a harbor, there's a bridge, and it's got that very similar type of vibe with the friendliest people, great coffee, great food, and just a great natural energy about it. So ask me that question a couple of years from now, it might be somewhere very different.
Yeah, because once you get down here to Atlanta in October, I'm going to make sure that you have a great experience here in Atlanta. So look forward to it.
I was in Atlanta one time before. It was a long time ago. I went to a conference, probably 20 years ago. I was there for like 2 nights. I saw a lot of the inside of a conference center. I don't remember the name of the conference center. I saw the hotel, but I don't remember much else about it. So I haven't really been to Atlanta.
All right. Well, I'll make sure you have some memories to take home with you this year. How about that?
That sounds good. Sounds great.
Great interview, man. Next thing I want to get to is I want to ask, as far as what do you see after being a part of Mendable and having the opportunity to have this experience that we've been having now for over 4 years? Like, what do you see Mendable as accomplishing and being, let's say, in the next 4 years? Like, what would you say you can see Mendable doing and accomplishing as a community, as a business, and with all the things that you know that are going on in the background?
Yeah. So I think, one of the key things that has been going on in the background for a long time is development of the app. So there is an app in development. It's been in development for a while, and it will be an app on your smartphone that you'll be able to download, and it will monitor what Dan Roach, who's the physician that has been working with his brother Dave Roach, who's the programmer, 2 brothers in Canada, and what Dan refers to as the mind-body interplay. And my way of, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm not a programmer, so my way in layman's terms is to say the mind and the body are connected 100% of the time. And you will find, as I have found, I've learnt about myself, is that I will react physically to my mental state and my emotions. So when you're stressed, I sweat. To be blunt, when I'm very stressed or I'm in a crisis situation, I'll often start to sweat and my heart rate will go up. So it's a way of learning how your body reacts. And from that, you'll be able to deploy your own mechanisms for coping with different situations. So that's on the app side. There's going to be workshops rolled out. Sophia is working on getting accreditation for workshops. So with that, Mendable will have the opportunity to go into the business communities and be able to use this technology to be able to help work groups manage their way through stressful situations, anxiety situations. And then there's going to be a lot of good stuff that will come out of all of that. The community side of it will always be there. We still need the social side of life. We still need that community. So what it's been able to do is extend our community And for example, who are the people in Mendable that I know and know well, and I know I can call if I need to talk to somebody? And it's not people who are around me, physically around me. I mean, of course, I've got my family, I've got friends here, there are people that I can call. But if I need to call someone, if I need help, and I need to just get support from someone, Corey, I can call you. You're in Atlanta. You're 5 time zones away from me. You're on the other side of the Atlantic. I can call a number of different people in the US. And to me, that community side and the friendships and the trust that's been built is a huge side of it. So that community growth will be ongoing. You mentioned the conference, the first Mendable conference, which will be in October of this year, 2025. And that will be the first time that we will have an in-person meeting. I say the first because it will be the first of many, I'm sure. So those are the sort of things that I think are my vision for how Mendable will develop over the next, I'm going to say the next couple of years, because 3-4 years from now, who knows? One of the things I've learned from working with startup companies, technology companies, is that whatever your plan is today, that plan will be out of date in a few months' time or in a year's time. Whatever your budget is today, that budget will be out of date a few months from now, because things change rapidly. And when they change, one of the ways a company and a business can be successful, and has to be successful, is to reinvent itself and be innovative. So whatever the mission is today, I'm sure there's going to be things that will happen that means that mission will change in different directions. And the one last thing I'd like to say about Mendable is that one of the things that's important to me is to break down the stigma attached to mental illness, anxiety, depression, whatever the condition is, and be a place where we can all talk about it and not be ashamed and not carry that stigma with us, and not feeling, as I felt through much of my life, that I had to hide it because it was something I was ashamed of. And I wasn't ashamed of it because I'd done something wrong. I was ashamed of it because society kind of told me that I was supposed to be ashamed of it. So anyway, once again, long-winded answer, but that's my thoughts for Mendable for the next few years.
I'm honored that we were a part of it, so
yeah, absolutely, me too.
Yep. And so my last question for you is going to be kind of hybrid between your professional background and then bringing in some of the mental health aspect. And this is going to be just something for the people, because there might be somebody out there that actually watches this video and may be in a place in their life. So, for example, you dealt with finances in your professional career. And we also speak about Mendable and a lot of the other things that has helped you to grow and mature as far as in your mental health journey. So if there's someone that's out there that's actually looking at this video, and they may be in a professional finance field, but they may be experiencing some of that stress, like you talked about earlier, that emotional roller coaster, and they may, feel like giving up. They may be just down on themselves right now. For you being someone in that financial field and have experienced already those type of emotions, what would you tell a person right now that may be going through it in order to help them get through a trying time like that as far as their mental health may be concerned?
I think the most important message, it's 4 words. You are not alone. And I say that out of experience because, and I'll give you a very specific example. I was working for a venture capital firm, and accounting for venture capital is very nuanced, it's very specific, and there's a lot of tax issues you have to think about, and it's a pretty small world. It's not many people actually work in that exact area of finance. And I used to sit at my desk a couple of times and think, who in the world has to think about this stuff? what am I doing here? Why am I having to think about this and feel a sense of loneliness? I don't really understand this. Is it me that's being stupid? Is this just a accounting pronouncement that's so complicated that doesn't make any sense? And I'd ask myself all of those questions, and those specific questions. And also when I was working for, for example, working for PayPal, which is a company very fast-paced, very fast-moving, and I thought to myself, I must be the only person in the world that has these issues to have to think about. And then I remember in the venture capital world, I went to a conference run by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I found myself in an auditorium filled with people that had exactly the same questions, and nobody else understood it. I thought, okay, that's my validation. It's not me being stupid. Nobody else understands this stuff either. And so when you get that feeling that you're not alone, it's very empowering, and it also can give you a lot of motivation to talk to other people about it. And from that, networking with other people is great. I always say, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And in many, many times, people either working for me or, people that I've come into contact with me, I say, I know this is a stupid question, but, and if it's a question, it's a question. People tend to be a little bit modest and approach it from the aspect of, oh, I have to ask this question, so that means I'm really stupid. And it really means that you've got an inquiring mind and you just want to find out the information. So no shame, no harm in asking a question. But along the theme of what I've been saying, not being alone, feeling that you have somewhere you can go, there always is somewhere you can go. And whatever the issue is, whether it be professional, whether it be personal, go into Google, ChatGPT, whatever you use, type in what it is and then the word forum. And yeah, if it is something like, cost accounting forum, and I bet you'll find there's an online forum for it, or there's a Reddit group, or there's something where you can connect with people that have the same thought. So that for me, on the social side of things, and something which I think Mendable has done extremely well, and this really is just the beginning, there's much, much more that can be done, is being able to connect with other people on whatever it is. And also on my journey with my mental health, the feeling of isolation has been very, very demeaning. It's made me feel very low self-esteem of myself. I'll give you an example of when I went through that particularly bad patch in 2003. And it was a Saturday morning, and we were sitting in the kitchen of our house, and here I had a 3.5-year-old and a 6-month-old, two kids, or actually my son, let's say a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And they were playing at the kitchen table. They had a little kids table, playing games, 2 happy kids, healthy kids. My wife was there, I was there, and what's wrong with that scene? It was a Saturday morning, and I looked at them and I started to cry. I was in such a bad place that I felt, and my genuine feeling was, I love these people, but I had such low esteem in myself. My thinking was, maybe they would be better off without me. And that was when I was in that feeling of severe isolation, and I went and got help. And you need to reach out, you need to get help. Whether it's starting out, talking to a friend, talking to a loved one, connecting through a group, or whatever it is, the empowerment that gives you, that led me to seeking help of a doctor, because I had a medical problem, and getting treatment for it, and getting myself back into a good place and being well again. So loneliness is something which is very, very isolating, but just remember, you are not alone. And even if you feel alone, you're really not, because somebody else is going through the same thing and somebody else will understand. And if they don't understand, somebody will support you in what you're going through.
That was very, very intense and touching, because I was with you there. I traveled back with you, and I'm looking at that, and the way I'm seeing that situation from the outside looking in. Another thing is that a lot of times the other people, you're looking, I'm looking at you in that scenario. The other people around you, a lot of times, don't even know that you're feeling that way. You know that you're having these type of thoughts, and that's why I like to end or respond with express yourself. I just commend you for being able to express that and going to get help. So I will also just add to anybody else that may be going through a situation and feeling that way. Nobody outside of you can see inside your mind to know what you're thinking or what you're feeling. And so if you do not express yourself or talk to somebody, or do like he said, go look up a forum, find out what other people may be going through, whatever it may. If you're going through depression, if you're going through anxiety, I'm taking that advice. Just even in general, if I'm searching up something just to learn, I'll go to Google and I'll type in whatever I want to learn about and put in forum. Like, that was a very valuable piece of information, and I just like to kind of shine that up and add to that. Anybody that may be going in any situation or dealing with any type of situation, please be courageous enough to express yourself to somebody so that you can get the help that you need and get yourself back in a better place. So thank you for that, David. That's wonderful, man. Look at us. Look at the Mendable family. Yes, man.
Well, yeah, I've learned so much through discovery, self-discovery, and talking to other people. And I always say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a counselor, I don't have the professional qualifications, but what I am qualified to do is to tell my story and encourage others to do the same, because in telling our stories, we can help others. And, many people look at me as this high-performing Silicon Valley finance guy, and there's truth in that. There's absolutely truth in that. And don't get me wrong, I'm proud of my accomplishments, but very few people would see the vulnerability that I've been through. And there's no shame in showing that vulnerability and being able to say to people, look, I've been able to achieve good things despite challenges in my life. Corey, I know that you've achieved great things in your life despite things that have happened to you earlier on. And you probably feel grateful for where you are today. I feel grateful for where I am today. And I think that's another very important thing not to lose sight in, is the gratitude in the good things that we have in life.
I'm very proud of us, each and every one of us in the Mendable family that's ever came and visited and spent time in that room and, listened to others, poured into others. Like, I'm very proud of each and every one of us and very proud of what we're doing. And so, in closing, I like to say thank you so much to our wonderful sister, Sophia May. Thank you so much for holding tight, Mendable, with the vision for Mendable, and doing so much work in the background, giving all of your resources, all the time that you give to continue to cultivate this community and this business that is now flourishing and helping so many other people in the world. So thank you so much, Sophia May, for allowing us to be a part of Mendable and to do the work that we're doing. So with that being said, I close. And David, you're my big brother, so I'll let you have the last words. This is your interview. Thank you so much, David, for sharing. You could close us out.
All right. Well, I guess the way to close is to say the Mendable Room meets on Mondays and Thursdays, noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. East Coast time, 8 p.m. UK time, many other time zones around the world, but I won't go into all of them. Anybody watching this, you can look in the narrative below and you'll find the times there. And please come and join us. And we're really going places. So we'd love to have you on the journey.